Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Block Sauce, the web show that showcases a variety of games from the Web3 space. I'm your host, Arena T Ambassador Jinkirin, and today we've got an extra special guest lined up for you. So grab your controllers, crack open a Mountain Dew, and prepare to get your game on. Hey there, sauce enthusiasts. It's time to bring the heat with another electrifying episode of the Block Sauce. I'm thrilled to introduce our special guest, and I'm going to try my best not to butcher his name, Pasquale.
You got it right.
There we go.
Yeah, that's better.
How are you doing?
Doing fine. It's a pleasure to be here and to represent BloodLoop up to your old public.
So, if I understand correctly, it's 7Digi Labs that's behind BloodLoop?
Correct. So, yep, the company behind BloodLoop is 7Digital Labs, which is a Switzerland-based gaming studio that we founded back in 2021. Although legally we're incorporated from 2022, it took some time based on Switzerland laws. And yeah, we are gaming. Actually, we're a software house, so we branch out in different blockchain and we branch out in development world, and blockchain is the baseline of every product that we're working on. Although our current vertical and the major vertical we are developing in is blockchain and blockchain gaming.
Nice. So what brought you guys, like, where did you start with Web3? Like, what brought you guys here, and then was there a transition later to gaming, or was that always kind of in the cards from the beginning?
It was in the card from the beginning. Personally, I've been into the blockchain world from 2017, so I joined the space with the first ICO bull run, made a lot of money, lost a lot of money, left the space completely, but I still felt attached to it because I understood the potential in the decentralization. So I'm not necessarily here for cryptocurrencies, but I'm here for the technology, which is way more than just the speculation. It's actually the actual blockchain and how it can improve the world in many different areas. One of them being gaming, and many other aspects as well. When it comes down to my expertise and my background in the field, I've been doing marketing from 2014, 2015, B2B and B2C in Web2. In 2019, I actually moved as a worker back into the Web3 world, transitioning over what I learned in marketing in the Web2 world over to Web3. Mainly, I was working on community building, influencer marketing, and growth strategies from, generally speaking, zero budget spend strategies. So trying to build organically around the product that you had, which was pretty great back in 2019, 2020, and actually 2021. So of course, during the whole bull run, with a lot of different projects. I worked for different DAOs, different gaming projects, different event tokens, and everything else. And in 2021, I met the rest of the team, and we actually got together and founded 7Digital Labs. So we all come from pretty different backgrounds. I come from marketing, the rest of the team come from product, law, gaming. We are 6 co-founders, which is pretty strange when it comes down to hearing it out. Normally you will find a couple of co-founders, but in reality, the fact that we were 6 is what kept us going, because when you start working on a company, particularly in Web3, it's not just the execution it's not just being able to execute a token launch or an NFT marketing campaign. It's about being able to survive a space that is brutal, that makes hiring super hard, funding super restricted, particularly in gaming for the past couple of years. So the fact that we had so much experience on board with previous track record as companies or previous jobs led us up to a situation where we knew what we had to do, and we managed to execute and kind of pull through the coldest of the bear markets, because we had a bear, of course, but gaming had the bear in a bear with zero interest for, I would say, 2022, end of 2022 all the way until now, when finally we're seeing some renewed interest in what we've been building so hardly in the backgrounds for everyone to play.
Oh man, so you touched on something that I personally relate to, and it's that you're here for the tech. Like you're probably just, if you're like me, I'm buying crypto purely to buy like game assets, right? I don't hold it in my wallet. I'm not day trading it or anything like that. I really understand decentralization. I believe in the technology, and I think there's a lot more than the surface level uses that we've seen in gaming so far. And another example that just out of the news this week, Smite 2 is releasing an Unreal 5, and your Smite 1 skins don't transfer. Instead, what they're doing is you're getting 50%, you're getting your full premium currency that you purchased back, but only 50% is usable on any individual purchase. So you still have to buy the other 50% to rebuy all the skins. And it's like, that is one of the things that we're trying to solve over here. We're trying to make it to where that shouldn't be a problem. It's like, yes, you can upgrade the engine, but let me still own the asset, right? And then you can upgrade the skin or use it in different formats, something maybe more simple. At least give me a profile picture that I own the skin, right? Come on.
I completely agree on to that. The issue, I mean, it's crazy that you can't actually own your assets, and it's also crazy that we have to speak about it. Of course, it's the baseline right now. Every Web3 project understands that, but you should be free to do whatever you want. And the fact that they are imposing such strict rules, and I was super delusional when I read that too. I've been playing Smite for a while. I played before I played League of Legends, and I've been playing League of Legends for I would say 12 years now. So I was completely disappointed when I read that news. Generally speaking, I would have expected, though. I mean, we have been seeing it from gaming studios like EA with every FIFA they release. Why should not them do that too? It's why we're here.
Well, it gets even worse than that, because I'm a pre-alpha player and I bought like the Ultimate God pack or whatever during the first game. Those don't carry over either. They have separate packs for that now. And I'm just like, oh man, at least that's one thing I don't have to worry about in Web3, because every game that I've bought into so far, it's an ecosystem. I'm not just buying for one game. I'm usually buying for an ecosystem, right? Yeah. So I wish we see more of that. But enough about the company in the background. You guys clearly have some beliefs that align with me, so I like to hear that. BloodLoop as a game, what is it about? I've seen some trailers, third-person shooter. I've got that much. Is it an arena shooter, a hero shooter? Like, what do we got going on here?
So first of all, before I jump into the introduction, I want to mention that, which is truly important. We imagine the gaming world as a deck of cards. So we're not here to change the deck. We're here to shuffle the cards out. Gaming works. There's no vertical, no point in the vertical that needs to be completely changed or reworked on. What we're here to do is to actually implement features and make sure that the gameplay experience is smoother and it's actually more enjoyable for the end user. And that's what we're trying to achieve with BloodLoop. BloodLoop is a hero shooter game built on top of Unreal Engine 5, which is conceived as a way for the end user to experience the Web3 features as part of their experience, as a tool, but it's not the main USP of the product itself. So if you're familiar with hero shooter games, you'll be finding yourself playing one of the heroes that we have carefully created for you guys as gamers, and you will be playing those heroes inside of different maps, fighting over two main competitive game modes and also arcade game modes on the side. The main story of the game is revolving around energy crystals and SEM. SEM is the stable exotic matter, which is basically a sort of form of energy that somewhat landed on planet Earth. Earthlings used it in the worst possible way, leading to the collapse of planet Earth and into what is basically an entity war, where with the power of the gem, of the gems and on the crystals and the energy, they were able to summon portals and kind of get entities outside of those portals. Some of them were good, some of them were bad. A huge fight dominated over planet Earth, leading to the destruction of that and the division of the remaining Earthlings into 4 different factions. Every hero that you play is part of one of those factions, and based on the faction that you're playing with, you will have different abilities, different skills, and the baseline is pretty standard. So if you're part of the Skies, you might find your hero being more tankier with more damage abilities, so it's more DPS and tank. If you're part of the Bastion of Essence, you will find that your heroes are more towards the support nature and so on. Whilst playing the game, of course, I was saying there are 2 main game modes. The first one being Energy War, which is a signature game mode, kind of a mixture between an escort the payload and capture the flag. You have to capture the SCM, which are basically the standard exotic matter cores, and bring it back to your base, extract the remaining energy from that, and then fly away from the map. when you capture the SCM from the enemy base, you will be slowed down about 75%, and your team has to defend you. So you become the payload to escort, which means that of course you need to synergize, strategize, and communicate with your teammates to make sure that you get covered, you get protection, and that you do not get killed to drop down the SCM and the enemy team can retrieve it and bring it back to their base. Other game modes are featuring, for example, Plant the Bomb, so the traditional game mode that we are well used to from games like Valorant, Counter-Strike, and so on. And then we have the traditional arcade game mode, so Team Deathmatch and Free-for-All. The Web3 component comes in as a feature, of course, so one thing I want to stress is that once again, it's not the whole genre. Web3 is not the genre of our game. Web3 is just a feature in our product that makes sure that your experience is much more enjoyable, because the game does not limit itself as the actual in-game matches, but then there's a whole ecosystem to explore once you're outside of the arenas, outside of the maps, in regards to the in-game economy. At the end of each match, you get drop materials. Those materials are NFTs that we directly airdrop to your wallet. We do not have any kind of Web2 database system. We keep track of all of your inventory directly on chain, and we do that through the usage of an Avalanche subnet. So we have a custom blockchain where we completely remove gas fees from the end user, no slowdowns, no payments to perform action that are free in Web2. And at the same time, leveraging Stardust, we have wallet abstraction, which removes the need of actually owning a wallet or creating one, making the experience 100% seamless. When you get those materials, you can get to the forge and refine them, and once you refine them, you get the possibility to craft skins. Skins, in the same fashion as NFT mints, are limited. So you don't get to mint an unlimited amount of skins. Once we reach the skin cap, no skins can be crafted of that same type anymore, meaning that the skin becomes legacy the first second it goes overcrafted. So that at that point on, there's scarcity implied in the whole system, and of course, when there's scarcity, there's perceived value, and the market demand and the market laws comes into place. Mm-hmm. So if we manage to control the system and to make sure that it's well balanced, every skin will have a baseline value, and people will be able to farm over those materials whilst playing, craft the skins, and either use them or sell them over to other other gamers playing the game. The main important takeaway from this is that the economic model is completely sustainable, as it does not revolve around direct payouts that we do to the user, but it's more player to player. And at the same time, Web2 gamers can kind of dip their toes in, because if you progress through the free battle pass, you will get 3 free crafting per month that you can use to kickstart your crafting journey, sell your skins if you manage to craft one that are cool enough to get sold, and get tokens from the other people in the ecosystem, which might be more liquid than you. That kickstarts the whole process, and then you are finding yourself interacting with tokens, and you look and you play the game and you look at it and you might think, okay, that's cool, I want to jump into Web3, let's do more. So that's our baseline for the kind of user onboarding techniques. The game itself is set to release by the end of the year, in early access, available for everyone on Epic Games Store. We're working on Steam too, although it's kind of harder because of the role limitation that are still kind of hard to go through and go around, and we want to do things the right way.
Exactly.
And we're currently doing some alpha and beta alpha testing. The game it's in its first alpha stage. The second alpha stage is releasing next week. Alpha 3 will be dropping out mid of February. Beta will go in closed beta by March, open beta by August, and then early access, I would say, by November of this year.
And I have seen some gameplay, which also, of course, now that we've seen the gameplay, that leads to criticisms. Now, you guys did not use Lyra, if I understood correctly. I think I saw somebody. Okay, so that is not the case here. However, you guys are using stock animations for now during the testing. Correct. Okay. So
one thing that I want to mention,
there you go, guys.
One thing I want to mention is that there's a lot of uneducation about the game development world right now, which is understandable. A lot of you guys are investors and are not actually in the world, so you might not understand the fact that during production there are stages where you need to use placeholder stuff. So there's no way we can have all the animation produced in Block and being available for us to implement them at the same time and the same fast piece that we are working on characters and in the actual art, because there are 2 completely production lines and animation takes a lot of effort, which means that we had to go with Mixamo, although we retargeted them. So if you actually look at them and you look at Mixamo ones, you'll find that we still have custom animation, but they are the same one that Lyra uses, because even Lyra uses Mixamo, which is the standard for the industry when it comes down to placeholder animation whilst waiting for your final ones. I'm glad to say that we will be having our final custom ones, not by this alpha build, but by the next one. So for the character being available, you will finally see our own animation animation that we carefully made with our team. So that removes another, of course, big point of criticism. But I truly understand that, because in the market where a lot of games are doing asset flips, a critical eye is needed, and I would say normally gamers are still pretty critical, but Web3 kind of puts these under steroids, and gamers are even more critical when it comes down to what they're looking at.
I don't even think it's just the gamers. I noticed there's other devs too. They like, I'm just saying, like everybody knows everything until they don't. So
Correct.
I'm the same way. I'm gonna admit there's been times people are like, "Oh, you're wrong." I was one of the ones who initially was like, "Hey, I thought this was the same other game," and then people came out, and I saw the tweets where it's not Lyra, and I was like, "Well, it's very similar." And as you just stated, it's
The
because everybody's
animations are
using
there, so
placeholder.
of course. Yeah, the
Yeah,
animation are there. So the first thing you notice are animation. The shooting system is completely proprietary. The shooting mechanics and everything are in-house built, but you can't notice that by looking at a video. You will notice that if you play it, but as long as you see videos, animation is what you notice. And if animations are all similar, you will notice that that's a placeholder asset, and you're thinking, okay, the issue, the point is being honest. There's no reason for me to come up on stage and tell you, hey, look, these are made from the ground up. They suck. To be fair, they suck. They will be gone as soon as possible. So there's no reason for me to lie about it. We are working
exactly.
on them, and as soon as possible, you will see the final ones.
And that's something I think a lot of people need to work on a little bit more, is being patient. I do understand this is alpha, and placeholders are definitely a thing, and it doesn't matter. Web 2, Web 3 does not matter. I was a alpha tester for a little game called Paragon from Epic Games, and their jungle had just skeleton meshes essentially. Like there was no textures, nothing. It was just, here's a little couple of blocks to show you that there's an enemy here, right?
Yep.
That kind of stuff
Yeah,
does happen.
blockouts are part of the development, of course. It was
Exactly.
either we released a game with like static characters, so like they were just moving straight with no animation, or we used placeholders, which I think looks better, but they're not the final version. That's to mention.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said it's the next version that they should be coming in, or maybe the one
Yeah,
after that.
not the build coming on January 20th, which we're going to
Okay.
be doing a playtest, but the next build, so I would say February. So we have them. To be fair, we outsourced part of the animation, as the cost of building them and the actual production times. So the production times goes way lower when you
Hmm.
outsource them, but the costs are the same. So we outsource part of the animation to a pretty strong 3D development team, which is Core 3D, which is a well-known outsourcing company in the Web2 development world. And we had to wait for the full delivery because animation are sequential. So even if we had the first 10 animation, but we missed the other 10, those 10 will not be complete because they have to be one after another if the action is like concurrent. So
Yeah.
we had to wait. We have the final delivery now. It's in our assets right now. We just need to implement everything, and it's in the pipeline.
And you mentioned there's play tests coming up. Are these something that we can apply for right now to the public, or are
Definitely.
these? Oh, where do we apply for
Definitely.
those?
So you just need to join our Discord server, and the way we're going to be distributing the next playtest access will be through Sesame Labs. So we have a questing platform that we're using for our user to gain credits. As of now, they're being used to get whitelist access to the upcoming NFT collection, but we are going to be diversifying the usage of those credits for different routes. One of them will be being able to access the playtest. So it's just going to be take you guys one quest. You can do whatever quest we do on a daily basis. They're basically just, interact with their social, put a like, comment, and retweet, whatever. It takes 15 seconds to do. And once it's done, you will have enough credit to claim one of the testing spots once we release them. Of course, they're going to be going fast. We cannot onboard all of the Discord community. We're currently sitting at about 22,000 people, and we had almost 45,000 registration for our whitelist plus alpha testing form, which really drives a lot of users that are, of course, pre-registered. But we're going to be doing the Sesame Labs to make sure that it's fair for everyone, and the first to claim will be the one that will be able to play. We're going to be posting more info on that in a couple of days on our Twitter. So just following on socials, being on Discord will give you a chance to play test. It's pretty easy, and I think we're going to be opening up 1,000 spots for this test. So there's a fair chance to join.
I am going to definitely be trying to get in on this. See, like I said, I am a my tongue. I'm a critic, but I will still give a game a chance. And if it, by the time I get in, maybe those new animations will be in, and I'll be like, oh, this feels different because it looks, like I said, similar to other games, but everybody's in alpha. So if everybody's using the same placeholders, that would make sense. So. But you're right. From the investor side, it's like, oh, dude, do I invest in this? Fingers crossed. Good luck.
Exactly.
But I've been on Kickstarter. I know how it goes. So, so with the game, there's no. You didn't necessarily. You mentioned a token briefly, but you didn't necessarily say that it's play to earn. No. So, am I earning token or only the NFTs and crafting?
So there are ways to earn tokens, but they're not part of the main core loop. So playing the game directly, just playing a match does not entices you to get tokens. Mm-hmm. The way that you can unlock token is actually taking part into guilds. So what we're doing is we're trying to foster kind of an decentralized esport ecosystem directly into the game, where small teams of users, guilds, association of players can start small and throughout the time grow big on the leaderboard and earn rewards based on how skilled they are. So how it works is that a guild leader can come up, put tokens to stake, and create a guild where they can invite user. Based on the level of the guild, they can invite more or less user, and that matters because the more user you get, the more the total MMR rankings can go up or down. Basically, we have monthly leaderboards, and based on how high your guild is placing in the leaderboards, and that's calculated based on your MMR, which is basically coming on from your ranking position in ranked matches, your KDA stats, your tournament results, and a lot of different factors that are factoring into the guild performance. Based on your position in the leaderboard, we're giving you out monthly prizes in our token plus sponsors. The incentives program is starting with our token, but the end goal is to completely remove the token incentives and transition over to sponsored tournaments, so sponsored leagues, where basically the rewards will be coming from different sponsors, whether in the Web3 or the Web2 world. So you can see how that's an opportunity for sponsor, because of course they're sponsoring up esport tournaments where the opportunity and the opportunity cost is spend money for a prize, get in return views and engagement from people looking that I'm one of the sponsor. The same thing happens if you have 50,000 users playing your game that are getting rewards from that particular sponsor. They will be even more thankful for that because, of course, they are the single or part of the roster that are sponsoring the whole league. The rewards are being distributed back to the user directly, and a small percentage is kept from the guild as a management fee. The guild fee can be used to expand the guilds, so stake more tokens, get more user in, or to foster operation whereas organizing tournament, partaking into tournaments, or even afford ERL expenses for gears, assets, or whatever they need to make sure that the guild is successful, or even bribe other users to join with prizes, rewards, or whatever. So on the long term, we can definitely foster an in-game kind of esport, or generally speaking, incentivized competitive environment for users to be earning off their skills. But generally speaking, that's the only way to earn tokens. So you need to be strong enough to go and rank and go up the leaderboards, either as a solo user or as a guild user, and be rewarded for that. Of course, there are prizes for each ladder, so it's not just the top 5 teams. It's a matter of the various leagues that we will be offering and the various rankings, but it's the top user for each rank that will be rewarded every season.
Okay. So just playing the game as a normal free-to-play Web 2 user, what would my experience be like? You said there was the battle pass, I get 3 free crafts a month, but I can still play the full game and have the full experience, right?
Correct.
Can I still participate in events like tournaments and stuff like that?
Yep, and you might even earn. So there are multiple scales of events. We are offering the opportunity to users to create their own events. One thing that we believe is pretty cool is the opportunity to put up wager for those events that are not necessarily the tokens. So for example, you can organize a paid entry event where you put up for stake your Pudgy Penguin NFT, and that Pudgy Penguin is worth like 10 ETH, and you put an entry price to the tournament for like, I don't know, $50 in our token, $10 in our token, $1 in our token, up to you. You are collecting the fees, of course, from the tournament, and they go back to you, and you can set up the tournaments however you want. So it might be a team tournament where 5 people need to sign up and they play. It might be a solo tournament where you got matched up with other user and you need to play with the team that forms up. The result is that if you win, your team will get that asset, and then it's up to the team on how they want to it might be one asset that they need to, of course, split up, so sell or whatever. But the fact is that you can put up for wager whatever you want, and that creates a strong token sink for the Web3 users. And at the same time, it creates opportunities for everyone to kind of put up what they want for in the game and play. But at the same time, there are also free tournaments that we will be offering as a company to the players playing the game. So you just sign up, you play, and there are token rewards, there are in-game skin rewards, there are different type of rewards that you can earn from those. So even as a Web2 user, you might be earning tokens just playing the game because you won a tournament, and then from there you can kickstart your journey, or you can earn skins just playing the game because you won a tournament. So generally speaking, the token sink is there. The mechanism for users to interact with the tokens are there. But the way you start your journey into the tokens, there are multiple approaches, there are multiple paths, so that we just don't force you to go on Binance and buy the token, whereas we get there, or whatever exchange and buy the token, which is the worst experience that the user not interested in Web3 can have right away when they firstly join a game.
So we have touched on the economy a good bit. What about the long-term image? Not necessarily the economy, but the game. Are we going to be looking at possibly seeing more modes, more maps? Are the NFTs just going to be new characters, or are they just skins? Like, How does
So
the long-term support look like?
yeah, in term of our content delivery plan, what's going to happen from now until the early access is that we're working on to implementing 8 different characters. So we currently are sitting at 3 with the new build coming on January 20. We're going to be having 4 characters, so we're missing still 4. The goal is to implement at least 6 playable maps that are going to be rotating among our 4 different game modes. We're currently sitting on 2 maps with the first one, so that will bring the counter up to 3, being completely reworked, as of course we are transitioning over from placeholder assets to proprietary in-house built assets. So all the way until early access, it will be just more game modes, polishing, game balancing, making sure that from every test that we perform, we can track stats and make sure that the stats that we feel like are off, so in terms of playtime with a single hero or statistics of damage for a single hero, ability usage and whatever, can be balanced out up to a point where all the characters are perfectly balanced in the meta, and you don't experience something like, okay, this character is bad, this one is OP, I will play this one instead of this one, which is what we definitely want to go against. After the early access release, it's going to be a series of release for major content. The major first big rollout will be the guilds system that I briefly explained before, which will be coming out 3 to 6 months after the early access release, based on the amount of bug fixes that we have to do on the product and the feedbacks that we get. Of course, bugs and feedbacks and balancing comes first, new features come second, just for the sake of getting a playable game rather than just pushing new stuff out. We saw that how it went with games like League of Legends, where they start releasing new stuff but they did not balance it in the background, and you know how people can get mad at it. So we want to make sure that the community feedback is well heard once we build out. And then after the guild release, it's going to be mostly new game modes, new maps, and seasonal content to make sure that the game is enjoyable. It's not always the stale, simple, same game mode and simple, same gameplay, but more stuff, collaborations, partnership, brand deals, new IP in the game, both from Web 2 and Web 3. And at the same time, the competitive, we're going to be pushing a lot on the competitive side of things, building around what will be an in-game competitive seasons and kind of foster that the ranking in-game to then possibly exporting and kind of bring it out to the public with esport leagues and teams jumping on the game. One thing that I always say is that we are not looking for esport partnership in a way that we bring a team and pay them to have our name attached to their brand identity. We're bringing teams on the game to play the game. There's no reason for us to pay $500,000 to whatever esport team for them just to say that they're partnered with us. We do have some pretty notable partnership when it comes down to esports. We are working alongside in a collaboration with the ESL, so the esport league, the Faceit owner, of course. The Faceit is a 40 million gamers platform doing tournaments for CSGO, and generally speaking, it's a social layer built on top of the most famous FPS and TPS games. Together with them, we're doing weekly and monthly playtests, so they're giving us their feedback, and we'll be attending events like DreamHack and similar with their game growth program. I would say in these years, so in the upcoming events, something like Wildcard did, going to DreamHack. I will say, I think they went to DreamHack Atlanta. They invited us too, but the game was not ready yet to go there. So we are just getting into a point where the game is polished enough to get state of events and can even onboard user from in real life convention too.
I feel like those are some ambitious goals. The words balanced perfectly. I just feel like that doesn't exist in competitive games.
It doesn't.
There's always a meta.
Oh, it doesn't. I would say,
but I wish you guys the best of luck.
Yep.
I wish you, if you guys can pull it off, I am all for it. I have not seen it in a game to date, and you used Riot, which I think is probably the perfect example because they release a new champion like every month now, and then like it's just the whole meta goes out the window, and they have to shift everything around that new character, and it's crazy. Yep. It's crazy how one character can mess up the game so much. Oh my gosh.
Yep. To give you an insight, we contacted a company that does game balancing, which are basically just a lot of users playing the game and testing out the product. The quote that we got for 5 character balancing is like, I would say 6 months of development in cost. They asked like $500,000 to balance out the game. That really tells you how hard it is to do that properly. That's why we're doing a lot of sessions with we're going to be implementing a lot of playtesting session. Right now, it's kind of a bi-weekly event. It's going to be turning into a weekly and daily playtesting sessions from the end of January, from the beginning of February onward. Because we just need to collect feedback, we need to collect data to see how things going to balance it out. Of course, there's no way we can perfectly balance the game, but we can balance out a meta that it's polished enough that users don't feel like characters are completely useless, and they can find their own strategy and their own kind of space in the game as they play.
Oh, that's true. You could even make weaker characters fulfill a niche that no other character can do, so they still have value. I mean, there's ways to do it. It's just difficult. And yeah, you're right. People definitely want a lot of money for that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man. So trying to think of what I haven't touched on. I mean, without the gameplay footage right now, it's hard to really like get too in depth and nitty gritty. Was there any inspiration for this? Like, did you guys pull ideas from any other games to kind of build this? Because you mentioned a payload system, you mentioned search and destroy, so that kind of makes me think like the Overwatch Paladins / CS:GO Call of Duty. Where's this coming from? What put these together?
I would say that building a game is actually a job of finding different sources and inputs and put them together. As right now, unless you're building a super ambitious indie game where you present the most strange dynamics like a lot of new indie games are doing, the gameplay is there. So, I mean, the mechanics are there. It's just a matter of combining them differently together and put up a product that feels different but still somewhat familiar, so that the gamers are kind of used to the mechanics, but they can still learn new stuff by playing your product. So yeah, I would say that the main source of inspiration and of course the genre that we're building upon, I could cite of course Paladin, I could cite Overwatch. Warface is one of also the titles that I will mention, just because our lead game designer was the lead game designer for Warface 2. So of course he has that mind and he has that ambition and that goal. But generally speaking, yeah, I would say we definitely took inspiration in the whole vertical, so in the whole genre of hero shooters, and we combined it with elements that I will say are proprietary, or generally speaking, we reshuffled elements in a way that we feel like are more kind of attractive to play the game on a long-term basis. One thing that we definitely touched upon a lot is that we wanted to build a game that is not hyper casual, but casual to approach. So you don't have to be super good at shooting like in FPS games where you just jump onto the game and if you're trash at aiming, you get completely destroyed and you don't uninstall the game in 2 minutes because you get flamed on. Like the first time Valorant experience is super bad. You download Valorant, if you cannot headshot and you cannot shoot, people will flame you because it's your first time playing. You will feel like you might not be suited for that product and you might not reopen the game ever again. So we wanted to completely avoid that because we're still working in a vertical, which is Web3, where people are still skeptical. So if the experience is also bad, then you'll lose your user in the first 3 minutes of gameplay. So touching upon the game in TPS settings is easier because shooting is not the main component, rather it is the abilities and the way you use them, which are the most important side of things. And the more you play the game, the more you learn how to use the abilities, how to synergize with your team members, how to kind of play together with them. And then once you master them, shooting really comes into play because then if you want to go that extra notch, that extra step, you need to learn how to shoot properly. And that's where the game gets hard to master, but it's easy to approach, which is also pretty important when it comes down to part of our game design system, let's say that.
I feel like if I jump into BloodLoop, I'm going to get wrecked because I'm the opposite. I'm good at the shooting and the aiming. I am not so great at remembering to use my abilities. So I got to shift my gameplay up.
Takes time. I mean, I suck at shooting. I completely suck at shooting, although I've played, I would say, 2,000 hours of CSGO, 3,000 hours of Valorant. But when I jumped the first time on one of the most refined version of BloodLoop, I was like, okay, let's look and play. That feels good. That feels really good. Although maybe I was not used to abilities a lot, it felt really good. and the game is still, of course, not finished. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm really happy to have you play out the game and get your feedback, by the way, because generally speaking, the more eyes we get onto it, the more experienced user we get onto that, it's the better feedback we get.
It's just always hard for my feedback because every time I've been like, oh, I think this would feel better if it's going this way, I always get the response, oh yeah, we're already working on that. It's like, well, the devs are already 10 steps ahead of me, so like I'm just here to say that the game, I get affirmations. They need my affirmations.
Yeah,
What
the issue, yeah, but that's coming back to that's coming back to the issue that you mentioned, which is that the game is still, most of the games are still pretty much in alpha, which leads to the point where we are happy to release a product now because it shows that we've been working, and we need
Yep.
to do that because the market is asking for that. So we definitely need to kind of also fulfill the speculation dream around the product and not just the gamers. But the game is not finished, so a lot of feedback, of course, we just tend to reply with, yes, this has been worked on, yes, we are working on that. But we do we have pretty we have pretty hard ways to collect feedback. So if you play the game, you will get served with a 35 pages form that you need to fill in, where we collect every single information about your game experience, and with that we improve the game. And we got a lot of great feedback that we were not working on that got added to our pipeline based on the test that we did so far, because we really value the feedbacks that we get. And it's truly important that both on the content creation side of things and on the gaming side of things, we manage to get the things right, because it's not just the playability, it's also the streamability, the watchability that is important. Otherwise there's no way the game's gonna grow.
Well, so far, I'm loving everything that I've heard. However, we haven't touched on the mint because you mentioned a mint. Is it a
Yes,
free
sir.
mint? Is it a play to
Yep.
mint? What? Tell me the details.
So we are taking the standard playbook right now, I would say, which is a free mint plus a token airdrop, but we are changing a bit the things there. So of course, first of all, we are coming up with the mint January 22nd. The mint is going to give you access to the SEM capsules, which are basically the standard exotic matter, the stable exotic matter that I mentioned before. So it's a narrative element of the game and you're minting that. And with those capsules, you'll be able to get access to our airdrop system. But we are taking a different approach there. So whilst we were designing the system, we were thinking about how can we convert the farmers, the people that will come to us for the sake of getting tokens, into gamers, which is the main stigma of the market right now. A lot of games are getting 250,000 followers, but when you look at their conversion rate is like 5,000 players. So it really tells that you onboard a lot of users that don't really care about your game.
Yep.
And we are onboarding them too. I mean, there's no point in lying there. The market is that one. You're talking to people that are interested into tokens. They might not be interested into playing. So our resolution there was like, we get them so hooked up on the story, on the lore, on the backgrounds of the game, that once they finish up with their airdrop, we are going to be living in their head rent-free. So they see so much about us. They talk and need to read so much about us to get their airdrop, that the story of the game gets so much in their likings that then they will be kind of not forced, but pushed to actually try the game when it's out, because like, why not? I've spent 3 months researching this product and the background to make sure that I earn the airdrop, that at this point I might as well. And to really get into that, so as I told you in the beginning, the game has 4 factions. The capsules will be assigned and divided equally in the 4 factions, and basically you will be fighting for your faction whilst farming the airdrop out. To farm the airdrop, you will not just need to perform standard tasks. You will need to go through narrative tasks. So what we're going to be doing is release content around the story of the game, like we did with the first trailer. We are producing a set of 4 different cinematics videos. So it's going to be 5 cinematic videos, a short animated series covering part of the ongoing story of the game. So it's the present in the videos, and there's going to be the past in the documents that we're going to be releasing. And you need to connect the dots, find the riddles, find the solution, understand what's going on, and provide it back to our dashboard. If you do so, you earn points. Additional points apart from your daily point generation that the NFT gives you. But if you don't perform tasks at all, your point generation goes to 0. And the faction with the most points every week gets a multiplier. So if your faction is smarter than the other ones and the members in your faction goes to the riddles faster than the other ones, you get more points. So you're actively stealing the tokens from the other faction and the other airdrops. And at the end of each season, based on how many points you earned, you will be getting BLS token, so our token, airdrop to you. And that token airdrop is currently sitting at about 1 million token to be distributed in the seasons, which at launch is about $100,000. But of course, I will not speculate on the price action of the token, but you can make your own assumption based on how super high liquidity token launches are doing in terms of gaming launches, looking at product like Shrapnel and similar. So you can guess yourself the estimate on what the final airdrop sum will be like after the token launch.
Yeah, I'm not really a token person, but maybe BloodLoop will pull me into it. We'll see. I do know that I'm looking forward to the mint, though. I just like to be involved in every game possible. I kind of have my hands everywhere. So anytime I hear the word free mint and game together,
let's go.
I'm there. And what's the worst case scenario? I'm set. I spent nothing, and
yep.
I get to hold an asset that I might get to enjoy in the game. I might not. I don't know.
Correct.
If I don't, maybe I can give it to somebody that does. There's plenty of people in my circle. They're like, giveaway? All right, let's do it. Follow me on Twitch.
That's a good way to convert them.
No, for real though. That's what I see everybody doing. Like, hey, here's how to enter this giveaway. It's like every content creator, and like one of the steps is always follow me on Twitch, follow me on YouTube. And I'm like,
yeah,
that's how you get them. And I know this because I did a giveaway for a Web 2 game. Except people sleep on Reddit. I posted this giveaway on Reddit, and I had like 300 plus people show up for this giveaway. And I'm some no-name streamer just giving away a collector's edition of a new MMO that was coming up, right? And everybody freaked out. And I was like, oh, sweet. All right. Giveaway ended up being a total disaster, by the way, because people don't read roles or anything else when they enter. But
Yep. I have to double on that. It's crazy when you have to deal with people. But I have to say that Reddit is becoming a user acquisition funnel that a lot of games are leveraging more and more. Spellburn did, it's Spellburn, I believe. They
what was their original name? They renamed.
Yeah.
That wasn't Pixelmon, was it?
No, Pixelmon is still Pixelmon.
Okay.
Spellburn was. I can't remember the name, but they recently rebranded. I love the new one, so that's why I completely forgot.
I was about to say, well, it's a good thing they rebranded. I don't remember the old name.
Yeah, but they managed to gather a lot of users, and we're definitely going to be leveraging this Reddit too at some point for a user acquisition technique. Once we get up to the point where we need to actually acquire user for the game as it goes live.
Well, that is a lot of good information. Do you guys have any? You mentioned a play test coming up later this month. I think you said, what was it, around the 22nd?
Yep.
Okay.
A couple of days before Mint. So Mint is 22nd, play test will be around the 20th.
Around 20th. All right. So we got play tests around the 20th. You guys got any like IRL events or anything that you're going to be attending?
Yep, we will be at GDC this March, so the Game Developers Conference. We will be one of the sponsors of the Wolves DAO House, so we will be there with the content creators at the Wolves DAO House, together with Shrapnel and Avex. We will be live streaming the game from the OpenSea Twitch account and on their Twitter, and we will be offering people that comes by the house the opportunity to play test the game. And at the same time, there will be a representation of our team at the Avalanche booth at the GDC to just meet and talk with people attending the event. Although it's more kind of dev focused, I would say, compared to other type of events. On top of that, we will be at the Avalanche Summit, which will be in April. It's still a crypto conference, but it's the best conference you will be attending if it means going to conferences in the crypto world. Trust me onto that. They had the best event managers out there. So we're going to be there with a pretty big stand, playable demo on multiple computers. And we are looking at the Tokyo Game Show for September of this year to kind of get into the Asian market a bit more, with a couple of stands there, some activation, and possibly our own BloodLoop house for people to come outside of the event to play test the game. But they're still working on to that, as the Tokyo Game Show did not announce any information yet to date. So we are waiting for more info on the booth and everything else to then get into the planning stage.
All right. That's a lot of events. No ETH Denver though? No ETH Denver? Come on.
Sadly, no. We kind of tend to distantiate ourselves from like the ETH something event,
Ah,
just
gotcha.
because there are so many of them, and the chances of us, so you have those events cost a lot on a business
Oh yeah.
perspective. Like Web2 events, like let me give you an example. Tokyo Game Show, a booth will cost you about $5,000. It whatever event they ask you $50,000 for a booth.
Oh.
It's super inflated, so you need to carefully select the events you're attending because it can burn down months and in terms of runway that we would possibly prefer spending on the product rather than attending events that are just crypto focused. So 50,000 for Tokyo Game Show is well spent because you get the eyes of gamers, you get into one of the premier conference around the world when it comes down to gaming. But 50,000 on ETH Denver or ETH whatever, where you're just meeting other crypto bros, it's good for an NFT project, but for a gaming project, I don't think that's a meta unless you have tens of millions of funding. We do have funding. We are backed. We have raised over 4 million recently, but that gives us 4 years on runway that we're not going to be burning onto events that are so inflated. So we learned hard through the bear market how to cut the expense, and we keep on doing that even if the bull is coming full-fledged and we are facing the best bull market of whatever year that they're speculating about. We need to make sure that we can stay focused on our vision and have the funds to execute.
100%. I wasn't expecting that type of answer. I was just joking. Oh,
no, but it's good to bring it up. It's good to bring it up because people have to understand how much it costs to go there and why you might not find your favorite project at whatever event you're attending.
It's just ETH Denver's like the only one I go to. I'm in Colorado and I'm not rich, so I'm in the same boat as most of the developers. I have to pick and choose which events I go to. So the ones I don't need an airplane for tend to come first. Oh man.
You're right.
But I will say that ETH Denver, if you have not looked into them, I would always double check their pricing. I found a few projects there that didn't quite have that kind of runway either, but Shutdown and Fabled, both of their teams were there, and both of those games are actually really good. I've played both of them, thankfully. I think we've actually interviewed both of them on the show, if I remember correctly. And they were really solid games. I was really impressed. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on your guys' game. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we wrap things up?
I would say that we covered a lot of crucial information over there. One thing I want to mention is that we are always active in our Discord community. So as a policy, we do have our moderators, but the core team is always active in the chats to make sure that we can address questions directly, to make sure that the true answers when it comes down to topics that might not have been publicly discussed or not enough comes directly from the source. So if you have any question after the interview and everything, you can just join our Discord at discord.gg/BloodLoop and send a message in the general chat. Me or whatever other core team members will be happy to take your questions. Follow us on Twitter. The mint is coming up pretty quick and the whitelist spots are closing down pretty quickly, but we will be sharing a lot of opportunities until the mint day. And even after mint, there will be playtests available, token launches around the corner. So there's a lot of opportunities, both if you're a player and if you're a speculator. So feel free to stick around. We would love to have you guys in our communities.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Well, that's going to be a wrap for us, folks. This was another fantastic episode of the Block Sauce. But before we come to a close, I just want to say thank you, Pasquale. I think I had it right the first time. Pasquale.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to hang out and tell us a bit about the game. And of course, we couldn't have done it without all of our amazing viewers and supporters. Your guys' passion drive our your engagement and passion drive our your drive. God, I'm screwing this exit up pretty badly, but this is why I don't do scripts, because you say it enough times, it's boring. So I don't like boring outro.
A few moments later.
But remember, the sauce never stops flowing. Stay connected with us on social media. Share your thoughts and suggest future topics for us to tackle. That's going to be it for us today, sauce enthusiasts. Join us next time for another thrilling episode of The Block Sauce, where we'll keep the gaming flame alive and the discussion sizzling. Stay saucy and keep gaming in the exciting realm of Web3. Have a good one.